So the indies are the way to go. But when you look at the material that's sent to you, Kevin, now, I mean, you're still getting stacks of scripts. Is it really awful stuff, or
No,
not?
no, it's not awful.
Yeah.
And I've turned down things that, you know, not only were quote unquote successful, but were good, you know, and that I liked. But I have no regrets about turning them down because it was not what I wanted to do at that time. Either I'd just done something too similar, or it just didn't, and I wasn't passionate about it, and didn't, you know. And I also have, you know, I still work in the theater, so if a film is not exciting me, there's always, you know, although I might seem to have disappeared to the film public, I'm still working. And I've also gone a year or two without working at all. I'm starting to enjoy that too. I mean, it has its virtues. But I've never liked, I love working. I love working. But I've never just wanted to work just to work. I was spoiled, you know, I spent 4 years in a rep company right out of drama school, and when you're doing Chekhov and Shakespeare and Marlowe and Tennessee Williams, whatever, you get spoiled. So, and you know, you're only as good as your material. So I try to find material that I think is excellent, with the exception of Larry. Those are the roles I've chosen.
Now you dug into the decline. That's our theme today of a marriage in this movie. It takes a very unusual trajectory. Talk about developing the character that you play with Diane Keaton, and how you two worked out the interplay and the arc of those characters over the movie.
I tend not to. I always let the arc or through line, or all the terms we learn.
The cliches that I'm uttering.
Well, that everyone does. It's part of our grammar vocabulary. But if it's well written, the arc takes care of itself. Or I'm just too lazy to look for the arc. Like Noah in the Bible. But I think it's, in this particular case, it's definitely the chemistry. It's something about a shared sense of humor and irony, and also just genuine, you know, what is an interesting truth that is inherent in the scene. And I think Diane and we kind of clicked. We never worked together, but she took an instant dislike to me, as if we'd been married for 30 years.
It worked.
Yeah. She was, she just sort of arrived seething with hatred for me. And tried to endear myself as well as I could, but didn't really care. But no, we kind of got the material, and I think brought and just had a natural affinity for the material, and just let the writing do the rest. And we just kind of took each scene as it came.
So Mark Duplass is an interesting choice to throw into the mix.
Yeah.
Why did you go with him?
We're looking for a young guy. The first day of any casting, someone sent this actor who had made a splash in a TV series, a good cable series, and I hated this guy. It wasn't that he was a bad person. I just didn't want him anywhere near my movie. The next day, someone said, Mark Duplass really wants to play this part. I said, well, I've seen Puffy Chair, and I really like him. I never would have thought of him for this. He came over to the house. I loved him. We never saw another person. I just thought, this is such an interesting ingredient in this group, you know. And he proved to be that, I think. He and I, since he improvises so many of his own movies, and there's a tendency to fill, and they do a little thing in those kind of movies that I don't really do in my movies. I like to have
You're a writer.
Cleaner. And we had lots of talks about it, but in the most amicable way. I mean, he's a pleasure to work with. And I'd go in after I'd say, oh, that's great, great. You know, take out all this and this and this. And he'd say, oh, you're pretty tough, aren't you? And he would take it out. And I think it's great. It just cleanly, he does the lines great. He knows, he understood the character. I love the way he is with Jenkins.
Yeah, yeah. So what was the biggest challenge here? What was the thing that really gave you pause as performer or director? A scene that was particularly tricky and nasty and difficult?
Well, I was very focused on the scene where Diane puts his shoulder back.
Yeah.
And it was wet and cold, and Diane she's interesting. I love her. She has a lot of anxiety before she does stuff. Then the second you start doing it, she doesn't want to stop. She will do it again and again. She wants another one. It was really cold and wet, muddy. They were really out there.
And it was early in this shooting too.
Yeah, and they hadn't worked together that much. But it's the most important scene in their relationship.
Absolutely.
And my dream was to do it uncut. I didn't know if I could do that. I covered it, but there's a 4-minute take, and in that 4-minute take, late in the movie, all their stuff is resolved, and the way she's tender with him, the way he is with her, instructing her, everything flips in the movie for me, and I was very focused on that scene, and it was kind of dream come true. And Carol Littleton, who's cut out, all my movies, did as she should and cut it first. And I looked at it and I said, yeah, but let's look at the takes. And it ends so tenderly. I just thought, oh, this is a dream come true.
And for you, performing it?
Well, smartly, Larry didn't tell either
No
of us.
pressure.
Well, no, there was I'd love to have this work all in the master shot without any cuts. I don't think you ever said that.
No, I did not say that.
No,
But you played it with humor as well.
Well,
Which is one of the
yeah,
great things about it. Yeah.
But,
Like you're in pain and you ignore me.
yeah,
I told you.
If I scream, you say don't. Just ignore me. She doesn't. Yeah, and that's. It's a wonderful metaphor.
And when I got the two of them, I knew who was going to be doing that. It's very exciting. Diane Keaton and Kevin Kline are going to do that scene, and it's going to be funny, and everything else.
So what limitations did disturb you about this kind of rough and ready indie, shooting? I mean, where did you didn't mind?
I loved it because everybody there was the impulses has to be so pure that no one's making any money. The pressure's enormous. You don't get a lot of takes. So, and Michael McDonough, who had seen Winter's Bone, I was crazy about the way it looked. He's a Scottish guy. He's so up for it. Great partner to be out there and say, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do it? The light was uncontrollable. Carol Littleton once called me. She couldn't even afford to be in Utah, but she would call me occasionally. She was in LA cutting the movie, and she said, now Larry, if you ever go back to that location, I just laughed. You don't go back. We don't go back anywhere. We never look back. But it was very invigorating.
So you're ready to do it again?
Oh, in a second. Yeah.
There's always, look, even in a huge budget, endlessly scheduled film, there's always going to be, at least for certain erotic actors who are remaining, we'll always say, oh, I wish we had another 10 minutes to work on that. But that's really...
But what they did do is they'd say, could I have one more? Which is always possible. And they did that a lot. And then they were happy. So I was too. Sometimes that's the one I used. And so there's enough time, the work expands the time allotted it. And that's really true. You see it in a short schedule. And no
So
money.
what's next for each of you?
Well, I'm adapting Harlan Coben's new novel, Stay Close. And he and I are doing it together. And it's really fun. It's dark, very dark. And it's set in New Jersey, Atlantic City, the suburbs of New York.
A little
Really
more body
excited.
heat
A little
feel.
more.
I love that film.
Thank you.
And you?
Me? Nothing worth announcing yet. Just I'm reading scripts, and I'll do something. Just not sure what yet.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
And you,
A
Ian.
pleasure.